Hello friends, welcome back to Gecko's Gaming. Today we're going to be taking a look at a new take on demons, a very aggressive slanted demons deck. And it's nice because the kind of the subtext on Holy Annex is that this is at its best in an aggressive deck because an aggressive deck can mitigate the downside of losing life. When you're on the front foot and you're aggressive, you're usually very happy to pay life for extra cards to finish them off. When you have your opponent on defense, that's when you are most liberal with paying life to draw cards. It's when you're most okay with that. And then also the reach on it, the ability to shoot the opponent for 2 life is better in an aggressive deck too. So this has always been kind of subtext as like best as top end in an aggressive deck, but there hasn't been a lot of support for demons, like cheap costing demons, to make you want to do that in the format. But this is a new take. This deck came from a Moto list. What was his name? Let me just check that real quick for you. Yeah, this deck came from Bertram, who's been 5-0ing, had a couple 5-0 leagues with it on Moto. And I just made a couple adjustments to the sideboard, but it's basically the same main deck at least. And yeah, I really love this deck. It's aggressively slanted and makes the most out of Annex in that way, where the downside is mitigated, the reach is really good. Bloodletter is also just plays very well in a more aggressive low curve deck, where you can really get a lot out of the extra damage that it does. But yeah, let's kind of go through the cards and see what we have. We starting off with Cecil. First of all, we have 11 1-drops, which is cool. I mean, that's actually one of the things I've noticed with this deck in just a couple preliminary games I played with it is that you have a decent matchup against red, surprisingly, against the red aggro decks. And I think part of that reason is that you have 11 1-drops, whereas they only have 8. So you often actually start off on the front foot in the matchup. And Cecil is obviously one of the strongest creatures in the format, in my opinion. 1 mana, 2/3 Death Touch, trades with anything, holds down the board. It's a aggressive threat, and you really don't mind losing life that much in this deck, especially when you have Annex, and then you can flip the Cecil to get a bigger threat faster. So it's an aggressive threat, but it's also good against mono red because it blocks everything there only for 1 mana, and then later on it turns into a big life linker to finish off mono red. So very good there. Forsaken Miner is also just a really strong card. The one downside, obviously, is that it can't block. So if you're on defense or if you end up on the draw, it can be awkward. But it races so fast and it just keeps coming back. There's so many ways to trigger the crime in here and just get it back. So 1 mana 2/2 that tax does a lot of damage. It adds up and then has recursion, which is great. Iridescent Vine Lasher. This one is another good one. Like, you can play it on turn 1 and you're totally happy with that. You can maybe get a couple points in with the creature in combat, but then over time, that land coming down each turn is going to add up to do a lot of damage. And if you have Bloodletters, you're doing 2 damage instead of 1, which also adds up. And between the Vine Lasher and the Annex, you end up with actually, I think, a critical mass of ways to deal damage without combat and to get those last points of damage in. And then, it also is a flex slot. You can play it on 3. Very happy to play it on 3 and get 2 lizards also. And then at that point, any lands that you draw from there on are going to do a lot of damage. Tragic Trajectory is a card that is, like this. The first half of it is usually kind of restrictive in the format, just being a sorcery speed and only dealing with 2 toughness worth of creature. But this deck has a lot of ways to trigger Void, and we're really happy to just throw our creatures away at the opponent. We have Color and Forsaken Miner, both of which come back with recursion. So we can trigger the Void on this often enough. We also, we can Warp Color, and that also triggers Void. So this can be 1 mana, kill anything a lot of times. So this deck makes, I think, pretty good use of Tragic Trajectory, more so than most decks do. Gatekeeper and Malakir. So this one, if you're an old school, if you've been playing Magic for a while, you remember this card from back in original Zendikar. And it's really cool to see this in standard again and to see it actually playable. This deck, I think, makes quite good use of it. It's a creature, on the front side, it's just basically a grizzly bear that's hard to cast, a 2-mana 2/2. But then if you kick it for an additional black, it makes the opponent sacrifice a creature when it comes into play. Really solid 2-for-1. Really good way for an aggressive deck to get a little more threats out of the removal or a little more removal out of their threats, however you want to look at it. But you get to maintain a critical mass of creatures and ways to do pressure to the opponent, ways to play onto the board. It's also a 2-for-1 when you kick it, while also not having to sacrifice removal or interaction. So, really cool card. If you remember, you remember. I mean, there was a once upon a time. It's hard to believe, but there's once upon a time where this was like playable in Legacy in mono black. But yeah, really cool to see it having relevance again. And this deck, I think, makes great use of it. Now, one thing to note is that because of the Gatekeeper Malakir, we have to only run 2 Soulstone Sanctuaries because the amount of black that you need to do this consistently. This deck has a lot of black mana requirements. So this is triple black, this is double black, and then you have a bunch of single black stuff. So if you want to curve out and even double spell and stuff like that, you have to cut some Soulstone Sanctuaries, unfortunately, to make sure you get that critical mass of black mana in your deck. The problem with that is the curve is kind of low, so the deck can flood out, I think. And typically Soulstone Sanctuary would be a mitigating factor to the flood, but because of the black requirements, we have to cut some of those to make the deck work consistently. So I'm still kind of working through. I'm just going to test it, how Bertram had it, but I will continue to consider that and see if there's other ways to mitigate flood in the deck. Obviously, you have Vine Lasher, it can make use out of your lands. And then you have ways to get guys back. That's not very mana intensive, though. And then, Unholy Annex is a mana sink also. But, yeah, the problem is there's just not a lot of good black utility lands in the format that tap for black and also do something. You have man lands but those are all 2-color. There's no 1-color man land. And then you can play that Erishin whatever outlook. What is it called? Great Erishin City. But it enters tapped unless you control forests or plains. And we don't really want to exile cards from a graveyard very often because a bunch of our cards come back anyways from the graveyard, color and minor. So yeah, kind of slim pickings. If you want to play one, maybe Erishin is where it's at. There's just not a lot of good black lands. This one doesn't really do that much. It enters tapped. This one enters tapped. Maybe Midgar could get there, but again, it enters tapped, which is a tough consideration. Mudflat Village is a consideration as well. It can get back Vine Lashers from the graveyard, so maybe that's worth considering. But yeah, the lands are slim pickings for mono black, so think about that if you want to try it. But that's why Bertram, I think, had only 2 Soul Stones and 23 Swamps. You just want to hit those untapped lands, and you want to hit all your black early. Timeline Color is a good card. Everybody knows this. Basically, it has haste, it has recursion, it triggers Tragic Trajectory. Just a good, solid threat. And then for rounding out our removal, we have 2 Bitter Triumphs and 2 Shoot the Sheriff. Not much to say there. Just having a split is reasonable. You got to be careful to Shoot the Sheriff. Most decks have outlaws in them. Mono Red has several outlaws in them, but you also don't want to be paying too much life with Bitter Triumph against Mono Red. So, you can typically end up with... Honestly, this is a way to make use of extra lands that I've run into a few times. Sometimes when you have a ton of lands, you can discard one to Triumph and not feel too bad about it. Another way to mitigate flood that the deck has. But, this is just to take care of anything unconditionally. And then if you do one of these, then you can trigger Tragic Trajectory and take out 2 big things. Other than that, yeah, we know Bloodletter it doubles life loss from the opponent on your turn. Does a lot of damage, can come in out of nowhere and kill them really fast. Pairs very well with Annex to deal them 4 each turn just from Annex. That's not even counting if you attack with Bloodletter and do another 4. And then if you have multiple Bloodletters, it just keeps multiplying. So it goes from 4 to 8 and from 8 to 16. And yeah, so you do a lot of damage there, kill out of nowhere. Also triggers Annex with the demon part. And then, you know, it's good with all these little creatures that can rush through. Like, typically with all these creatures coming out early, you get a few good points of damage in. And then you have enough creatures we can throw a few away and do a big attack when you land Bloodletter and finish them off that way with double damage. Obviously, like I said earlier, good with Vine Lasher. And then, yeah, we have the Unholy Annex Ritual Chamber, which if you watch this channel at all, you know, you've seen this card many times. It's one of my favorite cards. But yeah, the big old flyer can finish them off as well. For the sideboard is where I did make some changes to what Bertram had in his 5-0 Moto lists. But I'll just go through real quick. I have 3 Duresses, and this is just for breaking up combos and disrupting control decks. I'm playing 3 instead of 4 because I've noticed a lot of the control decks, especially blue-white, which is the premier control deck in the format, but even 4-color control, they tend to bring in a lot of creatures post-board, a lot of small creatures and things like that. Voice of Victory, Tashana's Tidebinder, that type of stuff. And then, you know, Beza, like, you name it. I mean, post-board, they actually end up with a pretty high density of creatures oftentimes. And so post-board, then you're bringing in Duress. And so you just want to make sure not to have too many of these where it's dead. I want to try to cast like 1 Duress per turn. Or per game, you know, against control, just enough to throw them off. Or if the game goes long, then I'll cast more and be able to get some interaction out of their hand. But that's where that's at. It's also good against some of the combo decks. Carsey Revenant is for red, basically. You know, sometimes you'll bring it in if flying is relevant, or if Death Touch is relevant, or 3 toughness sometimes. But yeah, mostly just there to beat red. It's very good against red. It trades with the Dragon, the Nova Dragon, and it also just gains life, like stabilizes the board. 3 toughness is kind of hard for them to deal with. They do have Lightning Strike, but then it comes back. So definitely a big blocker against red. Strategic Betrayal. This is for the Cauldron decks and anything that has graveyard type stuff going on. Bertram had 4 Leyline of the Void in the most recent version that I saw, and I like this a lot more than Leyline of the Void. I do not like Leyline of the Void. It's card disadvantage, and it doesn't impact the board. It's a terrible top deck. And Strategic Betrayal is just a very strong card, very versatile. You can bring it in a lot of matchups, even if it's not graveyard, if you just need a little bit more removal. It's nice to have that aspect to it. You know, sometimes you can go into kind of a control strategy with Annex and enough removal spells. Saboteur is here for combo and control, and just presents another threat, pressures the opponent quickly, resilient to removal. Thoughtstalker, same thing. I have this for combo and control, and I figure I'll be able to trigger it enough on turn 3 with all these 1-drops that we'll be able to choose the card often enough, and then it's nice to have a little menace body left over. It's good against blue-white, like I said, because even when they bring in cards, the menace is still relevant. And you get to pick any card. It could be a creature. You can take their Overlord, the Mistmores, things like that. So, yeah, that's the deck. I think it's really fun. I love this deck. So, tons of fun. Mono black aggro, a lot of cool cards. So, let's go ahead and hop into some games, see how it goes. All right, hopping into our first round here with black aggro. I'll keep this hand. 2 Cecils is a little awkward, but it's not bad. I'm leading with Forsaken Miner because I don't want to start losing life right away with Cecil, especially if I'm up against an aggressive deck. Yeah, take the Bloodletter there. That hurts, but that's the way it goes. 2/2. Play Cecil. Just one Cecil. Don't want to sacrifice it, of course. Okay, green black. I wonder if it's like green black mid range. We haven't seen much of that lately. It used to be a staple in like the last season, but. Okay. This might be one of those graveyard decks that can win with casting Season of Loss. Can't target the opponent with anything, so the Forsaken Miner has to stay in the graveyard. I was just checking to see if there was a way I could target my own Cecil with Tragic Trajectory, but that's not how it works. We're getting kind of flooded here. Okay, yep, this looks like the graveyard deck, the Season of Lost deck. Alright, they hit an Overlord, so they get to put that back in their hand. Still drawing lands, that's not good. I do think this deck is sort of prone to flooding, that's one of the weaknesses of it. The Gatekeeper Malakir makes it so you have to be very heavy black, and that makes it so you can't play a lot of utility lands, since you also have a low curve. You don't want to play too many colorless lands either. Alright, so we can get back the Miner this way. It's nice. Forsaken Miner is really good. Oh yeah, it gets an extra life from the Insight when it leaves the graveyard. Duress for my last removal spell seems good. Let's just keep the beats going as best as we can. We're in a tough spot here, but we're doing the best we can here. Limited resources. Yep. Destroy my Cecil so it can't flip. Makes sense. Enters, you may collect evidence. If you do, create 2/1 Spiders of Menace and Reach. Sack 4 tokens to surveil 2, draw 2, gain 2. It's got Menace, 5/4. Okay. It's kind of like, oh, what was that? Ishkana? Remember Ishkana? Basically just a big old spider fortress. Feels like the only thing I can really do is just keep attacking here, just hoping to break through somehow. Alright, so Cecil gets to flip this way. No, okay. Yeah, Cecil gets to flip. We're cool with that. I don't want to flip. I don't want to warp timeline color from the graveyard. I don't think right now. So much life gain. Feed the cycle makes sense. Oh, the Cosmo Glyph. Wow, this is cool. Sweet. Playing Cosmo Glyph. I like that. Alright, what's this do? Cryptex. Tap it, collect evidence 3, add 1 mana of any color, put an unlock counter on it. Sack it, surveil 3, then draw 3 cards if it has 5 or more unlock counters on it. That's pretty slow, but I guess can see the use of that. Yeah, we're dead. Yeah, there was a little chunk of time there where I think I could have drawn into something better, but it's not how it goes sometimes. Definitely want the Strategic Betrayal. That seems really good. Karsi Revenant just for flying, like they didn't seem to have a lot of stuff that can really deal with flying that well. It's kind of slow though. Potentially pick by their hand with Thoughtstalker Warlock, but I think the body's too small. Even though it has Menace, they kind of go. They can build a wide board, and yeah, discard doesn't seem particularly effective against them. Duress. They have too many creatures for Duress. So we'll go with something like this. I just need to figure out what to cut for the Strategic Betrayals. I could just cut Triumph and shoot the Sheriff. Strategic Betrayal just makes Cosmo go that much bigger. Also. I didn't see a lot of small creatures for a trajectory, so maybe I'll cut that for it. Keep the big removal. Let's try this. It's kind of cool to see Cosmo Glyph in Standard. That's a first, I think. This is not a good hand. Mulligan. Put a mulligan as well. I will keep this. I'll put back. I'll put back a Cecil or a Gatekeeper. I think I'll put back a Gatekeeper. I'm on the play, so Cecil can come out of the gate, swinging, and then hopefully I draw another swap so I can kick Gatekeeper. Otherwise, it's not very good. It's just a Grizzly Bear. Holy Annex. I don't think I want to just cast Gatekeeper for nothing, so I'm going to wait. Even though I would be curving out. I just think the value is too good. And the Annex will help me get my draw into my next swamp to turn Gatekeeper on. Ilmerk getting back another Dredger's Insight. Those Dredger's Insights really add up, you know, the life gain from that. So I could Timeline Color, or I could Soulstone Sanctuary. And... or I could cast another Annex. Interesting. I think I'm gonna go with the annex actually. Alright, so going with annex, I'm gonna warp color. I'm gonna attack. I'm gonna flip Cecil. And I'm gonna play a second annex. I'm gonna mute them because they're kind of annoying. Alright. Alright, let's go ahead and attack with Cecil, and then I'll try to flip a demon. I think that's the play. Another removal spell. Alright, left toe is getting dangerously low. Dangerously low here. Okay. Maelstrom Pulse on that. Seems good. We're down to 2 life. I don't see a lot of ways for them to really capitalize on our life total though, so yeah, there we go. We paid 18 life and we got the W out of it. Any changes? I don't think so. I'll keep the Revenants in the sideboard, although they are tempting after my life total got so low this time. But yeah, let's just run it back. I will mulligan. I will keep this. And what are we putting back here? Maybe Bitter Triumph. Yeah. You don't get creatures for a while, and then Gatekeeper can take care of that. Bitter Triumph's not even that good because their early creature is basically just Dreadmaw. Or, Mosswood Dread Knight, I mean. So. There's an Overlord they hit. They always hit off that. Come on, let's go. Pick up your Overlord. I know they took a land, okay. Nice to Explorer, okay. Now I found Port, they have a Demolition Field. Not much they can do against us with that stuff. I think I need to hold the Gatekeeper, so I'll just go ahead and attack. Because I'm gonna wanna take out the Ice Steel Explorer. Or potentially the Bale Merc with it, so. Get in for 6. Oh yeah, then do they mill a Dread Knight? Oh, okay. I think I'll just go ahead and attack everybody. I'm going to save the Vine Lasher in case they have a sweeper here. I can recover with that. I did see them mill 1 sweeper so far. It also gives me a lot of reach. If I draw land, I can play it right away and just do 2 damage. Bandit's Talent. Which one should I discard? Okay, sure. I'm just gonna mute you because they're just obnoxious with the emotes. I think it's actually Bloodletter, because Vine Lasher lets me get back my miners if they die. That's close though, because I can definitely cast the Vine Lasher, but I might not be able to cast the Bloodletter next turn. So, that was a close one. Give him a year go after spamming me with those for the last 2 games in a row. Yep, Mosswood Dread Knight. And a Cosmoglyph. Got a 7/8, sure. Alright, good game. Yeah, I kept the lizard instead of the bloodletter because either way, if I drew a land, I was probably going to win. But if I don't draw a land, the lizard had a little bit more of an upside because I could still cast it with Offspring. Alright, next round. I will play first. I'll keep this. Hopefully we can fill out the middle of the curve there with a 2 or a 3 drop, but it is a playable hand. More lands than we want. Another green-black deck. Duress. Sure. They get my shoot the sheriff. Nice, clear the way for their elves. Nothing but lands. Lame. Creature, yep. I want to kill the Preacher, I think, before it starts. We're at even life total now, so that can definitely be a problem if it starts getting double triggers off of the Preacher, so I'm going to take a turn off to take that out here. Bloodletter wouldn't have even been there very good there anyways this turn, so it's mana inefficient because if I cast Bloodletter this turn, next turn I could have like Soulstone, but at that point I'm not letting the Creature stay out for 2 turns, so. Okay, that's pretty nice. Honestly, I think I want to keep Cecil back here, probably. So that the Sentinel can't keep making tokens. And we have Bloodletter coming through the air now, so. Yikes. Yeah, luckily Cecil's going to be doing a lot of work here, just holding the ground off from this onslaught with Death Touch. Yes, I will take that trade. Okay, now we're just in an all-out race. So next turn it's going to do at least 6 damage to me. I could warp the color instead of casting it and then still Soulstone at the end of the turn. I think that's the move. Or still activate Soulstone, I mean. Take an 8. And turn, and at the end step, I'll activate Soulstone Sanctuary, and that'll be coming through next turn. Then I can recast Timeline Color again with haste. So it's looking good. Hopefully, they don't have a removal spell for Bloodletter. Okay, bad doesn't do a whole lot here. It does. It is a 2/2 flying lifelink, so another Ouroboroid. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. So now they have a 3/3. Yeah, okay. Actually, no, that's a huge bat. Not just 3/3. And I'm not quite dead yet, but very close. I needed like an annex there or something. I guess Cecil's not the worst. That bat's gonna be that bat's gonna be ridiculous next turn. I have almost no chance of winning this game at this point. Alright. Carsey's probably decent here. I don't really have good cards for this matchup right now. Could take Thoughtstalker. He can... Thoughtstalker can grab an Ouroboroid if I curve out. Strategic Betrayal is okay. It's just an edict, basically. I don't think they do much graveyard stuff. The Revenants are actually not bad, because the Death Touch... Yeah, they kind of play both sides of the ball. They're good defense and good offense, so... Try to play those. Let's see. What do we cut? Probably some of these smaller creatures like Timeline Color. I don't like the curve with all these threes now. NX is kind of slow. Yeah, that's interesting. I could see cutting Thoughtstalker or maybe playing it. I could see trimming some of this top end stuff. I could see keeping the annexes and just going up on more removal and bringing in Strategic Betrayal. Just going for a kill everything approach. Let's try this though. I just feel like it's... On the play I should go aggressive, so... Maybe on the draw I'll try the NX plus Strategic Betrayal build. Okay, this is a terrible hand. I'm gonna mulligan that. Another pretty bad hand. But it could get there if I draw just one land. Could put back the Vine Lasher and hope to draw land. Sure. Not a land. Alright, I think we're screwed. Just some weird variants here at the end. could be setting up for an Ouroboroid next turn, but I don't think I really have the luxury of holding up Shoot the Sheriff here, since just given how this game has gone so far, I can't really play a long game at this point. Just have to kind of put my cards down and be as aggressive as possible. Hope they don't have a good draw. I hope they don't have like the card that they need right now. Because even if I hold up Shoot the Sheriff, they're still getting 2+1 counters on the bat, which is like probably better than the Ouroboroid would have done anyways right away. So take 4. Alright, so if they block 2, then they die, so they're dead here, even if they get the counters. Oh no, they're not dead, actually they go to 1. I had that wrong, my bad. My bad, now we lose anyways. Alright, that was kind of dumb. I mean, I don't know, really bad hands, but whatever. Alright, next round. Play first, this is a fine hand. Be with the minor. I'll probably save the Lasher for turn 3, I think. That'll get the most damage in, most likely. Hopefully I draw a 2-drop, though. Proper Percussionist. It's a little awkward. I don't necessarily want to give them a card, but... let's just take it out now while there's a higher chance to look at something they can't use. Chainsaw. That's actually not bad. Can buy them some time from my minor. I'm not sure if I was supposed to... I'm not sure if it was smart to use that treasure trajectory that early. I think it was, I could see either argument, like, it was my only removal spell at the time. I did draw a bit of Triumph here, but... Weapons manufacturing, okay. Okay. We're gonna... play a land. Deal 2 damage. I don't know if I want to get the minor back. Or if I'd rather just play the Bloodletter right away. Yeah, because then I could put on 2 minors this turn and have a Triumph up. And then play the Bloodletter next turn. I think that's a little bit better, honestly. Because there's only... yeah, never mind, okay. That's just a weird trigger that doesn't do anything, so... Alright. Because there was only 1 minor, but it triggered twice. Surveil land. Legion Extruder. Nice. Pretty sweet brew. Vine Lasher, okay. What do they have? A 1-mana removal? Burst Lightning, or... No, they probably have Torch the Tower. Yeah, Torch the Tower seems good in this deck. Seems pretty good. Yep. And its Exile is my Miner too, that's pretty good. Sneaky. Do I play the Miner just as a bear to try to get through here? Like, do I think he's going to use Legion Extruder next turn to put a creature in? It does put a creature in after removal spells anyway, so yeah, I'm going to just play the... Just going to play the old bear. The old grizzly bear. Black fur grizzly bear. Testing bot, okay. Oof, man. This is good beats over there. Alright. Let's warp this so I can get back my Miner. And cast Bitter Triumph. And still threaten lethal this turn. Alright, got there. Nice. This is definitely a duress situation. Probably want Thoughtstalker too. Carcer Revenant is nice because... Actually, Saboteur is not bad too. Carcer Revenant has that nice 3 toughness plus flying. Alright, my spot removal is not great. So I'll probably cut, I don't know, I'll cut all of it, or I still have a Gatekeeper for some removal too. Yeah, maybe I just try to go without removal. Gatekeeper even, I can cut some of those, play 1. It seems reasonable enough, give it a try. Just a lot of threats, a little bit of disruption, no removal. This is a good hand, really solid curve. Opponent mulliganed. Alright, timeline color. Hardcast it, string for 4. Nice. That's a good card here. And it dodges weapons manufacturing since it's an enchantment. That's pretty good. Oh, he's got Ragost. So sweet. Artifacts are foods. All his artifacts can sap to gain life. You can sack a food to do 3 damage to each opponent. And if they gain life, you just untap it. Sack another one, but it only works for like doing damage. Okay. So Bloodletter or... Yeah, I think I just want to play Bloodletter. Yeah, munitions plus torch is a good combo. It's really good. Scry 2 and you can craft it to make a 1/4 flyer. Alright. It's just, at this point I don't know if I'm going to be really able to trigger the Thoughtstalker Warlock in time to actually choose. I think I want to just play that now and then keep my demon on deck. Let's just go for this. Build a wide board here. Pressure their hand a little bit. I think it's important to play close to the chest with the demon token. You know, I could get blown. I could get ruined by like a get lost if they cast Get Lost on my Annex before I can get the demon. That's how I get punished for this, but okay, so getting a little bit of filtering there. We got a land, their 4th land out of their hand. Getting a lot of lands over here. This deck is prone to flooding. I think that's the problem. But normally you would mitigate that by playing more Soulstone Sanctuaries. But with all the requirements, it has a lot of 1-mana black cards. And then it also has double black 2-drops. And then it has Gatekeeper Malker, which is triple black. You just don't have a lot of room for the Soulstones to run more Soulstones. So because of that, the deck is prone to flooding. Hell yeah, nice. This deck is pretty sweet. Okay. I get to draw a card now too. Hit your triggers on artifacts. That's so insane. Card's so good. Okay. Another land. Trying to burn me out with Ragost. So you can sack a food to gain 3 life, or sack really any artifact to gain 3 life, and then do 2 damage to something. It's got me pretty close to dead, but not quite. Oh wait, no, he does have me dead. Because this does 3 plus it does 2 when it sacks, and then he gets to untap. Alright. So maybe I want a little bit of removal. It's a citizen, a lobster citizen. Like, all my guys died of the weapons manufacturing tokens. You know, I have so many X2s. I can't really even cut that many of them. Because then the deck loses identity as an aggressive deck. I mean, maybe that's the direction to go, but... Like on the play, I can just run them over and ignore their creatures, although Rabost was really good there. But I think on the play, I should stick to this plan and just try to run them over. If I had known that they had Rabost and Hell yeah, I might have played boarded differently when I was on the draw, but I don't think I saw those game ones. So, oh yeah, another one lander, dude. All right. I think I'll mulligan this. This would be a really good hand if I could keep 7. At the gatekeeper and hope that they don't have one of those creatures I need to take out. Hylia is honestly barely even a creature. It's more just like a 1 mana. It's more just a 1 mana like card. Draw cards and gain life with like a bonus 3/3 later on if you want it. So when do I warp timeline color on turn 1? Usually I'll do that if there is if I'm the aggressor, if I'm clearly the aggressor in the matchup, and I don't mind us both starting off at a lower life total. Alright, so this is interesting because I could bring back timeline color or I could play Saboteur. I'm gonna go with Saboteur because even though they have a creature for it, it gives me the most aggressive start. So I go Saboteur into Annex into Bloodletter. That's going to be hard to beat. Might as well attack, right? Because it can't block. Yeah. Market Gnome. Nice. This reminds me of like the old bottle gnomes from back in the day. 1 mana, when it dies, gain 1 life and draw a card. It's pretty good. Wow. That's pretty nice. Pretty nice for their deck. Alright, am I getting a read on a Torch the Tower over there? That's what it looks like to me. So I'm not going to play Bloodletter. Yeah, so I don't really have any good attacks here. I don't think I have good attacks. I'd rather bait out the Torch the Tower and then play Bloodletter next turn. Or even just the Demon token. Because I can take out my Timeline color and my Forsaken Miner with the Torch the Tower. That's probably what they're going to do. Okay, wow, they want to take out the Saboteur instead. Nice, I'm good with that. Oh yeah, because they can only exile, yeah, okay, actually, that makes sense. They can only exile 1, I was thinking for a second they can exile both. Taking 2. And they're at 2 lands still. We're in a pretty good spot. We'll see what they have though. Market backwalker. Okay. Don't care about that. They're dead to this bloodletter next turn. Unless they... Okay, they do have something. Okay. This is interesting. Tempting to play the bloodletter now. I don't see ways to sack. Their munitions, unless they draw one. They need a sack outlet, basically. So what I could just do is I could play like a Vine Lasher and a Bloodletter. I could also play another 6/6. I think the 6/6 is a little more resilient. And it has the same clock, so puts the same amount of clock on them because I can still play Bloodletter next turn with like the haste, the virtual haste effect. And then it allows me to get more value out of my Vine Lashers too, instead of playing one this turn along with the Bloodletter. Not getting much value out of it or damage. It also gains me life, of course. And then if they don't have like a Duskgrow's Reliquary, then they don't really. It's a lot harder for them to take out my demon. Like it doesn't just die to a Torch of Tower like Bloodletter would. Munitions activate when they leave the battlefield. Okay, alright, good game. They don't just have to die. They can be whenever they exile too, or anything, or bounce or whatever. It's good to know. Very sweet deck though. I mean, you can see there's a lot of support for this type of archetype in Standard right now. Like Duskgrow's Reliquary is just great, for example. Yeah, just for a little debrief here, I think the deck is fine. I don't think it's like a tier 1 deck or anything, but it is fun, and it has unfortunately, I didn't get any red matchups, but I've played red a couple of times, and it seems pretty solid there. Even when I lost, it was close, but I was able to beat red too quite a bit. The Gatekeeper Malakir is really good there, so it's good against red. I'm not sure so much about the matchup against Cauldron, but I think I played Cauldron once or twice. It feels pretty good. Like you're putting them on a fast clock. You're putting pressure on them really fast, which is important against that deck because if the game goes long enough, it's hard to beat them. Like eventually, just the Quantum Riddlers come in and the card draw, and it's hard to beat them long game on a value basis. But this deck can get underneath them early on, get in for some damage early, finish them off with the Reach, and then we have decent ways to interact. Main deck, a couple nice ones, but then the Strategic Betrayals really put it over the top, I think, against Cauldron. So, yeah, I think the deck is fun. I don't have any suggestions at this point of changes. I'm going to still consider the mana base, as I said earlier, but even though we get flooded a lot, it does... it hasn't been that big of a problem lately. Like the Vine Lasher really lets you get scrappy with your lands late game and finish them off. I could see playing, like I said, I could see playing the Mudflat Village or something like that. Mudflat Village comes in untapped, and it lets you cast creatures, but it doesn't let you use your creature abilities, I don't think. So you can't get Forsaken Miner back with it. But yeah, those are the only considerations I have right now. I think there's a lot of ways you can build the deck, especially with the sideboard. And it's notable that we're not playing Slasher here, the Slasher Bloodletter combo. But it makes sense because we're more going for a wide, scrappy approach. We don't need the combo kill as much. Bloodletter is almost a combo in and of itself with like any other card that you have out because the deck puts enough pressure on them early. But that being said, I could see bringing some Slashers in or something. I don't think Slasher is particularly well positioned in the format right now, though, with Cauldron being able to interact with it so profitably for only 1 mana. But anyways, yeah, that's the deck. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, suggestions, any experience playing a similar deck. I'd love to hear it. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and everybody have a great day.